Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Finatics. Or if this happens to be your very first time here, please feel free to click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest Star Trek Discovery news. So today I'm talking to you about the promo photos that have just come out to promote episode 6 of Star Trek Discovery Season 3 entitled Scavengers. So let's get started with the synopsis for this episode. Firstly, this is how it reads. In Scavengers, after receiving a message from Book, Burnham and Georgiou embark on a rogue mission to find him, leaving Saru to pick up the pieces with Admiral Vance. Meanwhile, Stamets forms an unexpected bond with Adira. Sounds like an interesting episode. Okay, let's get into these photos and take a look and see what we can learn. There's about 17 promo photos to go through, so let's take a look at those. Okay, so in this first photo, we've got Georgiou and Burnham crouching over a pile of junk. So it would seem like the premise of this episode is Book gets captured by the Emerald Chain, and we've got Burnham and Georgiou on this sort of rogue mission to come and rescue him. It seems like maybe they get captured themselves, so because they're all in this sort of scavenger camp, there's all sort of junk around, and it seems like they have to do a bit of a prison break attempt. In sort of what looks like a bit like the Running Man from Arnold Schwarzenegger, where they have these explosive devices on their neck and so forth, and if they go outside the perimeter, they will explode. And so yeah, they're kneeling over a big pile of junk here in this photo. And if we zoom in on the pile of junk, is there anything in there we can particularly pick up as being important? Nothing that I can see that stands out as anything, oh, look at this is an old tricorder or something. It just seems like a pile of random junk. In this photo, we've got Georgiou. She's found a piece of junk. It seems to have some form of importance. If we zoom in on this piece of junk, I don't recognise it as being anything we particularly like an old bit of an old tricorder or a bit of an old communicator or anything like that. It just seems like some random piece of garbage that she happens to have picked up there. But maybe it's some important thing, part of some sort of weird technobabble thing that they need to help bust them out of this prison compound that they find themselves stuck in. Here we've got a shot of Admiral Vance and Lieutenant Willer with Saru in the background. Obviously they're going over some sort of mission briefing and so forth. I wonder whether this is a promo shot before any kind of visual effects have been put into place. Because normally if they're touching the air and all that sort of thing like they tend to do in this show, there's normally some sort of holographic display up in front of them, which makes them probably as actors feel less awkward when they've actually got something to interact with rather than just poking and prodding at the air. I'm sure that feels really strange as an actor doing that. All these photos have got Saru in the old Discovery uniform. I don't know about you guys. Leave a comment in the comment section to see what you think should be the case, but I reckon since they're now in the 32nd century, they're working for new Starfleet. I think Burnham and Saru and the rest of the Discovery crew should be in the new Starfleet uniforms. When Pike came to the Discovery from the Enterprise, he switched to the Discovery uniforms, and then when he went back to the Enterprise, he switched back to the Enterprise uniforms in the second season. So I think now that the Discovery crew is in the 32nd century and they're representing 32nd century Starfleet, they should switch over to the new 32nd century uniforms. And in fact, I've done a Photoshop rendering to see what that might look like. Here's a shot of Saru looking very snazzy, I think, in the new 32nd century uniforms. And here's a shot of Burnham in the outfit. I think it'd be a nice change. I think every Star Trek series at some point during around the third, fourth season or thereabouts has done a bit of a uniform spruce up. And I think it'd be nice to see the Discovery in these uniforms. But that's just me. Let me know what you think. Going to our next photo, we've got a shot of Burnham and Booker standing in a turbo lift having a bit of a chat. It seems like this shot is most likely to be at the end of the episode, if I had to guess, because from what I've gathered from the trailer, Book is captured, Burnham and Georgiou have to go and rescue him. We get a message from him in a hologram sent to the Discovery to maybe to ask Burnham for help. And now we've got them standing in a turbo lift in person. So if I had to guess, it would seem like this is maybe from the end of the episode when they've rescued him and he's back on the Discovery again, because it's clearly in a Discovery turbo lift in this shot. Moving on to our next photo, we've got a shot of Burnham looking a little bit sad, maybe somewhat troubled perhaps. Nothing particular we can glean from this shot, just a typical promotional shot of Burnham. And our next photo is Burnham and Giorgio having a bit of a chat. I'm not sure whether this is on Book's ship or whether this is on the Discovery. I think maybe it's on Book's ship. Based on what the trailer talks about, it seems like Book gets himself into trouble with these scavengers, puts his ship on autopilot to send it back to wherever Burnham happens to be, and it seems like then maybe Burnham and Giorgio take Book's ship to go and rescue him. So I'm guessing that this is kind of Burnham and Giorgio having a bit of a chat about rescuing Book and what they have to go through, and maybe Burnham saying, "Now you behave, Giorgio. Don't go killing everybody and causing too much mayhem. Otherwise, they'll be in deep poop with Starfleet. They've only just got back to Starfleet. They want to start getting reprimands too soon." That's just my take on it anyway. Okay, now we've got a shot of Tilly. Obviously, Tilly's playing babysitter in this episode. She's got Book's cat, Grudge, and she's obviously taking care of Grudge. I'm guessing that Giorgio and Burnham are off and away on Book's ship. It's going to be interesting because I think in an earlier trailer we saw Tilly babysitting Grudge and making some comment to the effect of, that she's allergic to cats and maybe isn't the biggest cat fan, which I think is contrary to Mary Wiseman in real life, because I think I've seen some interviews with Mary Wiseman for various promotional stuff to do with Discovery where she's done Zoom calls or Skype calls or whatever, and there are definitely cats in the background of Mary's house. So I think Mary is definitely a cat person, but it would seem like Tilly is not a cat person. We've got a shot now of Lieutenant Willer. I'd like to know why there's a difference with the security uniforms for Starfleet. Obviously, they vary a little bit from the regular Starfleet uniforms. I would imagine they should have some gold striping or banding or whatever to indicate security or tactical department, but they don't. They've just got this kind of dark grey, black sort of charcoal chest piece on them. Although it does have her rank on the collar, which seems to be in keeping with the other Starfleet officers that we've seen wearing these types of uniforms. It looks like the Discovery has got a bit of an upgrade. We clearly see Owo here at her console, and it would appear like her console has been upgraded with programmable matter controls. And it seems like she's kind of freaking out a little bit, like, because this is a whole new territory for her. I would imagine that there would be quite a learning curve to be had in terms of using these new controls. It surprises me that they upgrade the control system on the Discovery with programmable matter. I can see them definitely saying, oh yes, we've upgraded your shields, we've upgraded your armor or your quantum torpedoes or whatever, all that sort of stuff, weaponry and whatnot. But I think it would be unusual for the crew to have to adapt to a whole new interface on their controls. And you wouldn't be able to do your job for a period of time. There'd need to be quite a bit of a learning curve there, I imagine, in terms of using these new programmable matter controls. I can see Burnham doing it because she's been in the 32nd century for a year and she's had a year to get used to it. But I imagine our Discovery crew wouldn't adapt quite so quickly, perhaps. They'd need a bit of training to get up to speed with how this programmable matter interface works. And from the looks of Owo's face, that seems to definitely be the case. We've got Stamets now having a meal with Adira in a scene in the mess hall. I don't know what it is about the meals on Star Trek. I've been rewatching Star Trek Enterprise recently, and it would seem very much like whoever is cooking the meals on Discovery is kind of a bit like Chef or whatever on Enterprise who was cooking the meals. They always look terrible. I don't know what it is about the meals. They look like the cheapest, most basic, somewhat unpalatable TV dinners you've ever seen. The food on Enterprise always looked awful. Whenever you saw Archer and Trip and T'Pol and stuff having a meal together, the food looked really bad, and I can't say the food looks much better on the Discovery. Adira here looking a little bit pensive, a little bit nervous, whatever the conversation is that she's having with Stamets. It's maybe a difficult conversation of some description, I think. Now, it would seem like Adira is still having daydreams or hallucinations or however you want to call it regarding Gray, her her. I never know what pronoun to use. I'll just say she at the moment because everybody is saying she on the show. We haven't switched to they or them or whatever the correct pronoun is for non-binary people. But it would seem like, yes, Grey is still appearing in hallucination form or whatever to Adira. So it would be interesting to see what's going on here and what advice or information maybe Grey is helping Adira adjust and adapt to having the information and the knowledge of all the symbionts within. Now we've got a touching scene between Stamets and Culber. Last week was a good episode because we got to see Culber doing some more doctoring, but it would seem like in this episode we're back again to romance and the relationship issues and so forth between Stamets and Culber. Maybe Stamets in this scene is talking to Culber about the conversation he's had with Adira. Maybe Adira is having trouble adjusting to the whole being a Trill symbiont kind of routine, and she's had a chat with Stamets, and maybe Stamets is having a chat with Culber to see how he might be able to help in her adjustment process to having all these memories flooding back to her from all her past Trill hosts. That was our last photo to go through. So we've got an interesting episode coming up with Discovery. Looks like there's a little bit of action going on with the whole rescue attempt with Book from the scavenger camp. And we've got some character stuff to also deal with Adira and Stamets. And also I'll be interested to see what Saru has to do in terms of his liaison with Admiral Vance and Starfleet Command. Let me know what you guys thought about these stills. Are you excited for episode 6 coming up in a few days' time? Please don't forget to like, to comment, to share, subscribe. Check out my merchandise. I've got the merch shelf active now, so you can check out my merchandise straight out of YouTube, and also clicking on join if you're interested in getting a bit more out of the Sci-Finatics YouTube channel and becoming a member there. I can't wait for episode 6. I will be back in a few days' time with my review of that episode once it comes out, and I'll see you guys then.